Roads and courthouse steps of small-town South Carolina to the late-night studio where the mics never sleep. This is where decisions, rumors, and real stories collide. You're tuned in to the Pot Stirrer Podcast with Jazzy Jeff. Real talk, local issues, no fluff.
I always love that opening there. No fluff. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Pot Stirrer Podcast from our palatial studios here on this beautiful Monday evening. Now, contrary to what we've seen on social media today, there was no tornado in Seneca. Somebody made a post earlier that they thought they saw a tornado, but Oconee County Emergency Services clarified there was no tornado, but there was a lot of damage from the storms that came through a little bit earlier this afternoon. Well, it is another edition of the Pot Stirrer. First up, we're going to talk about some news headlines, and then we're going to get into the crux of this evening's broadcast. And first of all, early voting is underway here in Oconee County for the 2026 statewide primaries. Voters can cast their ballots now all the way through Friday, and there's no reason for you not to go vote because you can. And the primary is open, of course, now at Lexington office at South Pine Street in Walhalla. The Oconee County voter registrations there were doing the election in the council chambers. The primary itself is Tuesday, June the 9th. And again, there's no excuses, folks. You can vote early, vote informed, and for heaven's sakes, don't wait until the last minute and try to pay that light bill at $4.59 and then you forgot about voting. No excuse. You can go vote now. Also making news in others for South Carolina here for Oconee County. Here's some good news for everybody. Brace yourself. The South Carolina Department of Transportation has proposed several 2027 road improvement projects for Oconee County, including work on Sanford Boulevard, Whitestone Road, South Carolina 182, and sections of Boone Creek Road. Public comments are being accepted through Wednesday, June the 11th, and roads are one of the issues that everybody in the county complains about. And this is the part where public actually gets a little chance to speak. Also, if you plan on doing any recreational boating, fishing on Lake Hartwell, might I recommend you don't, because the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services, a.k.a. the old DHEC, has announced that official samples from the Conoross Creek Lake Arm confirmed an algae bloom. Green, nasty water, I might add. And, of course, there's other things that float in Conoross Creek, including brown trout. That has been seen from time to time. Anyway, be careful in your travels on Lake Hartwell. And I guess, of course, this is bad for dogs. In plain English, if the water looks like somebody spilled green paint in it, don't swim in it. And for God's sakes, don't let the dog drink out of it. We had this problem last year and the year before that. Matter of fact, other parts, the Tougaloo Arm on the Georgia side near Chickasaw Point has had the algae bloom tested, and also 18 Mile Creek on Lake Hartwell. Also, a major public safety mental health issue is also getting attention at the annual Oconee Probate Court Mental Health Summit. Sheriff Mike Crenshaw told attendees that the county jail currently houses the county's largest population of people dealing with mental health issues. And, of course, that ought to make every taxpayer and every voter stop and think, because when the jail becomes the mental health facility, something is kind of wrong with our system. And a story we've been following on social media, and it involves the transition of the Corinth-Shiloh Fire District. Remains a hot-button issue. Now, for folks that don't understand, the Special Purpose District was created after it passed the referendum to form their own special fire district, is continuing to move towards a professional taxpayer-funded fire and rescue model. But there is unresolved issues remain with the former volunteer 501c3, including roughly $200,000 in community-donated funds, and also a pending lease agreement involving the station operations and equipment. And this story is not going away, and it raises an even bigger question. When public safety changes hands, who controls the money, the building, and the trust of the community? And this is a big topic that we will continue to take a look at in future shows. Finally tonight, politics. June 9th primary is around the corner, and Oconee County has several contested races. First of all, in the Oconee County Council District 3, we have a Democrat, Devin Clay, and Lee Sheehan are seeking the nomination for the Democratic Party. In South Carolina House District 1, Democrats Junie Lynch and Jasmine Williams are also in a primary contest, with the winner moving forward in a district currently represented by Republican Bill Whitmire and, of course, Don Mize, who is also facing a challenger in the Republican nomination. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring up our wonderful friends here who have joined us tonight in the Podcast Stirrer studios. Want to welcome in, first of all, Devin Clay. Thank you for being here this evening. And Junie Lynch, I appreciate you being here. And I'm going to start with Junie tonight because she actually has a little experience in this political game that we call the elections, because you did run for a seat on the Westminster City Council. And go ahead and introduce yourself to all our listeners tonight.
So I'm Junie Lynch. I'm running for South Carolina House District 1. My main platform is running on rural infrastructure as far as roads, internet access, hospitals, basic necessities. I'm also running to bring transparency to our local government. Previous to this, Bill Whitmire didn't even have a Facebook page over his 24-year campaign. So the cheapest way to communicate to our people wasn't even considered. We haven't had a contender in this seat since 2012, and he has held this seat for 24 years. So I at least wanted to offer an option for District 1 if they didn't like the results that they are seeing.
Devin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Of course. I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity, Jeff. My name is Devin Clay.
Now, you're going to have to get in that microphone a little
yes,
bit.
Sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. My name is Devin Clay. I'm a local business owner here. I'm running for District 3 for Oconee County Council. My running principles are safety, affordability, and small businesses. Those factors are really things I really care about, because as I see our current county council, yes, they're making good strides from what I saw last year, but when I announced my running last year, I felt that they were focusing on national propaganda instead of grassroots issues that everyday citizens like me or you are going through. So I felt it was time that we had young representation when it comes to county council, and someone with a diverse background as myself. I've worked with solar companies. I've worked in the real estate profession. I've helped launch a few different restaurants through private consulting. And so I wanted truly to give the people of Oconee County District 3 perspective and a voice that represents both sides of the aisle, because this is not a Democrat thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is what's best for the constituents of Oconee County and District 3.
Jenny, I'm going to go back to you, and since you're running for District 1 for State House Representative, for the folks that are listening tonight, what are some of the life experiences that you may bring to the voters that they should pay attention to?
So I started my career in project management. I was working on wind farms across the country to bring green energy and affordable solutions to local residents as far as electricity. From then, I've worked in manufacturing, and currently I manage a global customer service and product launch team for a chemical company. So every day I'm fighting fires, figuring things out. I worked in manufacturing during COVID, so those were some of the most unprecedented times ever, where you have to work closely with everybody to get things done.
What was your experience like running for Westminster City Council?
It was a pretty good experience. I had a lot of very good support. I think my biggest downfall is I don't like to talk about myself. So
Right.
if I help you because I want to help
You want to help, right?
not
Right.
because I want to tell somebody I helped you. And that's really been like a downfall for me. So I've tried to highlight the ways I help the community without specifically naming people. So that's kind of how I've changed the target of my campaign this time.
Well, one of the things that I know that you've been involved in with is Sergeant Mulwee with the Oconee County Sheriff's Office with Community Tree 1. And I believe that that is an excellent program that he has done. He's gotten community support, and so many people have been affected by getting the food boxes that Community Tree. And I know that you've been on the Utica Mill Hill. You've seen firsthand of a depressed area in the Seneca area. So those are just one of the many things that I've seen you involved in the community.
And Charles Mulwey's an angel on earth. He probably hears that so much he's sick of it. But there are so many seniors that rely on these food boxes and families and generational families that have 2 or 3 generations living in the same home that this makes such a big impact for. And people that don't have vehicles that can't come get these, and we deliver them to their door.
Right.
Because no one should have to think, am I going to eat today? Like, that should just be something that we are able to make sure that our citizens are not starving, that their kids are showing up fed. Very basic, and I don't care, red, blue, green,
It
whatever
doesn't matter.
color
It's
you
not
want to
a.
be.
This is not a political thing. This is making sure that people are taken care of, that they have proper nutrition and food. Because I think everybody across both aisles will sit here and agree that we have some issues right now that are going on, particularly here locally in Oconee, but statewide and across the country. We have families that are barely surviving, and a little bit later on, we're going to get into some conversations about homes and houses, and that Devin and I have had a talk about, and I think everybody agrees that this is an issue. We'll get into that in just a few moments. Devin, you have got into this race. You were the first to file on the Democratic, you were the first to announce. Let me go back. You were the first to announce that you were going to run for county council. And in your travels and in getting accustomed to what's going on, what is the biggest issue that you see facing District 3 right now?
Well, I want to say thank you so much to Jeff Bride and some others who've been vocal about overdevelopment and the affordability issue. And I think one thing we need to realize is estate planning. Now, let me talk about this. So, and we're seeing in neighborhoods as Perry Hill, Bruce Hill, these are historic neighborhoods filled with so much culture. Well, as we're seeing some of these older homes, the older generation is dying out. And sometimes some of their estate plans are they're subpar. So where when the house is transitioned to the next generation, they're just like, oh, we can't afford the tax on this. We can't afford this house anymore. They sell it. A developer or a fixer-upper comes in, they fix the house. That $200,000 house or $100,000 house is now a $300,000 house. That makes the whole neighborhood, not just that house, go up. And so that rich history, that culture that these different neighborhoods of Seneca have had for years is going to slowly disappear if the older generation does not make sure that their estate plans are very, very grounded. Because the opportunities that they had to build families, to grow here, to embrace their history, the next generation is not going to be able to afford that. They're going to be pushed out of neighborhoods that their families literally founded because of what we're seeing with the affordability issue here. And I really think that's one thing we have to hone in on. If we want to keep Oconee great, if we want to keep Seneca great, we have to make sure to educate ourselves on property rights, the importance of keeping property in the family so that the rich history and culture that generations have created stays in Oconee County and stays in District 3.
Well, you brought up a great point when you talk about the Perry Hill community, South 2nd Street, Bruce Hill, and those areas. Again, a community that is in this district, District 3, that for me has been overlooked for years and years, is the Utica Mill Village. I had hopes that a new project, which is allegedly getting started right now, was going to be, how shall I say it, it was going to be an affordable apartments, and that's what it was billed as. It's my understanding that I'm not sure that's going to happen. It seems like now that this is about to turn into a Neary project, what they did with the old Neary Mill. I thought that would have brought a new sense of revitalization to that area. It's just like that Utica has just been forgotten about through the years. When the mill closed down years ago, you could walk on the Utica Mill Village. I had family that lived there. You could walk in any one of the houses and you could feel safe. And now it's anything but that. You don't get called at 3 a.m. walking down the streets because you'll probably get gunfire. And I hate to say that, but that's true. What do you think you would be able to do if you were on county council and you were elected? How could you best represent and help those citizens of Utica?
I think the best thing to do is we just have education classes. Let's focus on some of the, community buildings there. We got the Oconee Community Theater, which that's something that has been a part of my life. Let's host classes
Did
there.
you go to Utica?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
No, that's right, because you had already. Never mind. You folks are all too young to know about
I
Utica
know,
Elementary
but
School.
it was a school, in fact,
Yeah,
because
Utica.
my grandfather, Warren Sampson, served on the board of the Oconee Community Theater, and I acted in various plays there. So I do know the history of that building. But I say we have to utilize spaces like that and have education courses where we bring in mortgage brokers, we bring in real estate officials, we bring in estate planners to show, okay, if you guys want to keep these houses, these are the steps you have to do. Because at the end of the day, Utica, oh, it's changing. The crime's going to go down. It's going to become more safer. But let me tell you here, folks, the families that are there right now, they are not going to be able to afford it in 5 years, 10 years. We are already seeing developers who've bought into Utica 10 years plus ago sell their portfolios to corporations who are not from here. And in return, they've hiked up rents. They're not actually fixing anything in those houses. They're just upping the rents to match what the rest of the rental property is going for in Seneca. And that right there it's going to be the downfall of the rich history and culture of Utica. And yes, I understand the issues, but there are ways that we can help combat the issues. There are ways that we can help educate the homeowners to take back pride in that community. Yes, I understand there's issues, but we have to act now, or all those residents are going to be priced out. And that same problem is going to happen in Utica, Bruce Hill, Perry Hill. It's going to happen all over District 3 if we do not educate ourselves now.
Well, you're right. And for an example, and this is public knowledge, this is available. If anyone wants to go to the GIS maps, Oconee County has GIS maps where you can look at all the properties. Take you a little trip on the Utica Mill Village and just go from street to street and take a look at how many of those homes are owned by LLCs that are not in South Carolina. I know of 5 on Ames Street that is owned out of an LLC from New York. There's 40-something% of the homes on the Utica Mill Village are owned by outside investors or LLCs. So you make a very good point there. Let me get back to Junie on her run and ask her a couple of questions here. So rural communities, particularly where you're talking about Salem, Walhalla, Westminster, Long Creek, Mountain Rest, and the smaller communities, they often feel forgotten by Columbia. What would you do different, and how would you work towards helping these communities that are in District 1?
I feel like they are forgotten in Columbia because our current representation does not speak to our constituents. So I'm very active in our community. I see Senator Alexander at least once a month at events. I have never seen Bill Whitmire in real life. I've never seen him at an event. I've never seen him, and maybe he's in a different circle than me. I'm not sure, but the constituents I'm speaking with, they feel the same way. I've heard they don't answer emails or phone calls or call back, anything like that. And I do understand that is a lot of people, but at some point you have to return the calls. You have to show up, and I think that is the big piece that we're missing in our community.
Do you believe that state government understands the growth pressure that's happening in the upstate, particularly here of what we're seeing in Oconee County?
Man, I hope so. If they're not, they've got their blinders on. Because, I mean, you can just walk out, I'm sure, any door and see the growth. Mm-hmm. And if you're not seeing it, you're not looking. And that's a scary thought in itself. But the best way to combat the growth is to make sure we have policies in place to protect our local communities, make sure we're incentivizing people instead of penalizing people, and continue good growth in this area. We don't need to become Greenville. We don't need to become Easley. We can stay small, but bring services here like healthcare, like internet, that can support our normal citizens.
I do want to make a mention for the folks that are watching the show real quickly, and I have to give that a boy or kudos. Most folks know that my mom was admitted to the hospital Friday morning. She had a major injury. Well, she started bleeding out, and we've come a long way with health care in Oconee County. And I used to be very critical of Oconee Memorial Hospital. I was part of the jokes, you go there to die. But I will say this time that they were Johnny on the spot, that my mom and I hope that everybody gets the same kind of health care. They were on top of it. They recognized the issue. They jumped into action. They formulated a game plan, and by far, it was some of the best care that I have ever seen out of Oconee Memorial Hospital. It's just like that I've been going back and forth, and occasionally I have to use the hospital. I am so pleased to see that we have come out of that age of where the jokes and stuff, and again, everybody, it just was an amazing experience, and I'm thankful that she's here. Still got a long way to go, but had it not been for their jumping in, we actually do have some great health care now in Oconee County.
Well, and piggybacking on that, Hunter is
Hunter Calm.
Yep, he's one of the only people that have responded to me as far as bringing rural health care to Westminster, Walhalla, anywhere like that. I've reached out to Bon Secours, Doc in a Box, you name it. I've emailed a million people, but
Yeah.
Hunter's the only one that even would consider a conversation about, hey, we need health care here, because driving 30 minutes for health care when you are sick is not always an option.
It's not.
Especially when you're older.
And years ago, and this is before your time, if you had a heart issue, or let's say you had a heart attack, at some point it would take 25 to 30 minutes, and that was on the best day to get an ambulance to the rural part of the county. Now we've cut that response time down in half by staging Oconee EMS throughout the county, which has been a game changer. There's an ambulance down the street here from where we're doing this show. Clemson is part of that story too, with the Clemson Rural Health. They're now coming out into the community, such as here in Salem and other parts. So definitely health care has increased, and also to our population's increased. We've got more people here than we've ever had, and we're continuing to grow. So, but the healthcare aspect of Oconee Memorial has been phenomenal, especially with, having to deal with them. So here's a hard question that I'm going to ask you, Junie. This is, of course, predominantly Republican territory. This is very tough for the Democrats. How do you talk to voters who may not agree, so to speak, with the Democratic label, but may agree with you on local issues?
I think it's really understanding where they're coming from and meeting them where they're at. Because if you have a child that's not thriving in school, then you understand the issues we are seeing in our schools. If you drive on our roads, you understand the issues.
Potholes everywhere.
So I'm not here to push my agenda. I'm here to serve the public, and I'm going to do that whether I have a seat or not. I'm going to bother Hunter either way. Because I care about this place. Like, I want to live here. I want to have a beautiful home here, and I want to feel safe here. And I want everybody to feel that in our community.
And I think I hear that all across Oconee County, wherever I go. That's the things that I hear. They want to feel safe. We also want to have reliable health care. Again, we're having the conversations now about fire. Having local fire response is an actual big deal going on now here in Oconee County. Devin, I'm going to put you on the spot now with a hot question.
All right.
So we have seen some tension grow between county government and city-driven growth plans. So should municipalities have influence over development decisions outside city limits?
I say this is a very hot topic. This is a very controversial topic, but at the end of the day, we have to look at it like this. We need to be working together from a county and city perspective.
And state.
And state. We all need to be working together as one. And I truly feel with the current political climate that we're seeing, we're not seeing too much of that. So as this story develops, I will form a personal opinion. But as of right now, we need to look at it by case. In regards to what we're seeing in Seneca, we have to be very careful. Seneca is a very, very hot market. Yes, we have lots of business coming here, lots of people eyeing this area, but we have to have controlled growth. This is something that's been said over and over and over. So at the end of the day, what I want to see from the city, county, and state is more unity. I want to see more meetings together so they can figure out, all right, if this needs to be put in the county's hands, this needs to be put in the county's hands. If this needs to be put in the city's hands, it needs to be put in the city's hands. But at the end of the day, we need to do what's best for the constituents. So if that's to have it in the county, that's to have it in the county. If it's having the city, it's having the city. But this is a conversation that I really feel that we need to challenge, that needs to be a further discussion, and we just need to do what's best right for the constituents of every district in Oconee County.
So what do you say to residents who feel like development decisions are being made, and I'll say this, in the cloak of darkness? And I'm going to give you an example of development in the cloak of darkness. For example, we just had an issue with Sanctuary Cove that just came to light. Had I not have got on and looked at the agenda and found out that this was going forward, I'm not sure anybody would have found out, because it already throwed red flags up with me. And again, I talked to the developer. I went across the line and had a meeting with Tyler Cox, and there was some things that he finally said, well, you're probably right. And I pointed out a few things. But that whole thing went down. And then in the cloak of darkness, back in October, we find out that Scott Mulder, the city administrator, goes before the school district of Oconee County and asked to have the old Hamilton Career Center, which is now the Bountyland Education Campus, to have it annexed in the city. And then I find out that he goes down and starts asking everybody on that road, on Kiwi School Road, for annexation, and Oconee Christian Academy, and then come across the railroad tracks, and bam, found out that there's a potential for another 600 development home.
Well, I'll say this. The story writes itself. We need more transparency. I'm tired of the private meetings. I'm tired of the backdoor conversations, because at the end of the day, it's only going to help strengthen the 1%. But what about the young families? What about the rest constituents who just live an everyday life? We need a more accountability. We need more transparency. Simple as that. So, and, I'm very friendly with a lot of people on city council, but if that is what's going on, it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now, because we're at a point. If we do not act right now, the Oconee County, we know it, is going to change. All of us who are sitting here right now, money's already tight. Do you see gas prices? I'm about ready to get a moped, y'all. I'm ready to sell my car. But listen, property taxes too. I talk to young families all the time. Not all the young people are able to buy houses, but the ones who are, they're hurting. They're making good money and still hurting. If we do not get a tackle on this right now, y'all, we're all going to be priced out. This area is going to be filled with people who do not represent what Oconee County, District 3, and the rest of our area represents. And so I'm here to say no to the backdoor meetings, no to the dark cloaks, transparency, accountability. It's time to do what's right for the people. Simple as that. So if that's what's going on, it's time to fix it. And that's all I got to say.
Woohoo! Well, there you go. That's the first barn-burning pot stirrer there that we've had in quite some time. You must be watching me and taking lessons from me. I get kind of animated every once in a while about certain things. All right, I'm going to go back to Junie for another couple of questions here, and then I've got some joint questions for both of you here. So, you just talked about roads. District 1 has mountain roads, lake traffic, tourism, and rural infrastructure needs. What should Columbia do to help counties like Oconee?
So we should be...
And I need to mention, Pickens, because your district does cover part of Pickens too.
We have a little bit of the mountain up in Pickens also. So the state needs to be looking at budgets across the state, because federally we're allocated funds.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are infrastructure and education and a lot of different funds. But we need to be looking at what counties are in the most need, which counties can fend for themselves, and take that into consideration. Where Charleston is obviously going to get more tax money, Oconee is going to see less tax money, and make sure that we are getting our fair share of the pie. And then make sure that we are hiring companies that know how to make roads, because I don't know if you've drove on some of these new roads, but some of them are like rumble strips. And
well, some of them have just gotten paved, and there's a road, I won't mention where it's at, but it is in the Seneca area, that just got paved.
And it's bad.
And it's bad.
Yeah.
The road is actually bad, and I've heard the complaints from 24, South Carolina Highway 24, that they were doing a paving project just outside Westminster towards West Oak and there. And I have heard people complain that the paving is horrible. So
I think they fixed 11 now, but
did they fix it? Because
on
it had
11 for a minute.
It had the roar sound in your tires when you're driving down Highway 11.
Yeah.
Again, we have the tax, gasoline tax already in play, and it doesn't seem like when asked these questions, where is that money? Nobody seems to have the answers of that money is even coming back to Oconee County.
I think we have to kind of make sure we have the right comptroller in-house, the right treasurer in-house, and then make sure the funds are allocated accordingly. So it's a multi-level issue, but once we get our money straight out of state level, we should be able to allocate funds correctly.
All right, Devin, I'm going to ask you a question now, and we're going to get more towards you have someone running with you or against you in the Democratic primary. Without getting personal, what separates you from Lee Sheehan?
Of course, myself, if you ask about who Devin Clay is someone who's like, I've mentored under so many different people. There's been a lot of people who shaped the way I carry myself. They shaped the way I do business, and it's for the better, man. And with my time, even though, yes, I'm 22, about to turn 23, but I've been an entrepreneur since 16. I've been volunteering since 14. I have the perspective of the younger generation, how we are tactful. We're really good with social media. We're very resourceful. We're very good with networking. And I'm using my skills and taking from the great leadership I've had over the years. I mean, I'm talking with people who've had 20 years experience in multiple different industries. When those two factors come together, we got something great. And it's just like, I'm the type of person, I say to the day I die, I always want to learn something. I always want to be educated. I always want to take advice. Even if that advice is not the right at the time, I still want to take it in because I believe in respecting people. I feel Mr. Sheehan, I've known him for quite some time. It's funny enough, his stepdaughter was my mom's best friend in high school. So, and his grandson, I went to school with. But at the end of the day, we have two different styles. We have very different tactics. But my advantage is I believe I bring in new and old, because if you ask around town, they'll tell you I'm an old soul. Listen, I love yacht rock. I'm a very type person that's very cultured, and I've been raised by so many different people in my family and so many different business professionals to where I'm able to craft those things into one, and that's what makes me the right leader and right person that you need to vote for in a Democratic primary for Oconee County Council District 3.
So you're telling me that you like the Doobie Brothers then? That's yacht rock.
Of course.
Okay, great. And again, I've known Devin for a while. I have to admit that his mom and we graduated together. Dreama and I graduated together, class of '94 at Seneca High School, and Dreama was she was an SH1 too with me. That was Seneca High School's first student television station. We created an actual in-house television station, and I've known his mom for quite some time. Now, Judy, I'm going to ask you the same question. Your opponent is Jasmine Williams, and what separates your campaign from hers?
I think people just know me. People who've been around Oconee have seen what I do, who I am, and they're not afraid that I'm going to pull a switch. I've been the same who I am. I think Jasmine's very young, very new. I think she's got a great following in Long Creek area. She does a lot of conservatory work, which is great because, man, we need that after the Conservation Bank got eliminated. But she's a younger person too, so she understands the struggle of all these prices raising. So I've got experience with Emerge. I've got experience running previously. I understand all of the heat that is about to be thrown out whoever wins this primary. I've talked with her about it too and said, hey, be ready. But I think the biggest difference is just life experience. I've traveled this whole country. I've worked for a bunch of different industries. I can relate to most of the industries in this county. And I think that's probably my biggest differentiator. And then I've also worked within the federal government. So previous to my current role, I worked in custom software development. So I did a lot of innovation projects for NASA. So I've been able to work on federal projects. I understand the red tape. I understand the policy. And I think that's a huge differentiator for somebody who's never worked with the government to understand that long process it might take to get a policy passed.
I'm going to move on, and I really, before this show was conceived, I invited Devin. We had a meeting, and I invited Devin, and then I asked Devin for you to tag along. There were some things that was brought to my attention that has apparently occurred, and one of them was posted today on your Facebook page, not to be associated with me, which was someone within the Democratic Party. And this goes back several weeks ago, that there was an event held at Biggerstaff where a lot of the Democratic candidates showed up and attended, and you guys were there. But there was a couple of folks that attended that were there that brought to my attention that they felt like certain candidates were being given preferential treatment. And I want to address and ask both of you this question. Do you believe that the local Democratic Party has stayed neutral in the contested primaries? Jenny, we'll start with you.
I don't think anybody was a fan of Mullins McLeod when he was there.
I've heard that. I actually heard that. So I actually did a little bit of homework, and what I found really scared me a little bit of some of his background. But do you feel that the local party has tried to stay neutral in these contested primaries?
I think that no matter the person, everybody has predetermined bias. And I think it shows whether it shows or not. I think people have a lot of good intentions, but it's obvious when you're not their choice.
Devin, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, Jeff, I just want to say this. I think it's time to stir the pot. Simple answer is no.
Have you felt like you've been treated fairly?
Oh, no, not at all. And the sad thing is, this is something that candidates years and years have been experiencing, and this has to stop now. Now, hear me out, y'all. I'm not here to tear down our local Democratic Party. I believe in tough love. My grandma, the former councilwoman of Westminster, South Carolina, she's from New York, and she raised me with tough love. Sometimes when we are doing wrong, we need to take accountability. And do you know what happens after we take accountability? For structuring. We get stronger, and that's what we need to do. This is not the time for us to bicker and batter at each other and say, we need to keep what's going on private. No, we need to bring it to the front. We say all the time we want victims who've gone through things to speak up. Okay, well, it's time for us candidates who have went through stuff dealing with honestly, both parties, it's time for us to stand up about the injustice about what is going on so this does not continue to happen. I am sick of it, and I will say this, there's a person I really care about at the party, and we had a conversation before this, and in no means is this a message saying for me to tear down a party. No, I want true unity. I'm not just about making posters of unity. I actually want to see it. I'm tired of talking. I want to see some doers. I want to be some change makers. And you know what? I'm here to make that change. Every single chance I will get, I will be able to be accountable. I will be able to make sure to be very transparent with people, because what I've seen is something that cannot go on any longer. Young people feel that way. Middle-aged people feel that way. And the older generation, like my grandmother, they feel that way. So it's time to put a stop to this, Jeff.
Well, you are very passionate, and I can sense that passion coming through your voice, and you really are passionate about this. This is somebody looking on the out. I'm looking with my blinders off. I have an issue that there's someone within working with your party that actually physically went to January 6th, that was an executive committee member of the Republican Party, was a former show host on another program that I used to do, that has just got on board, and he was an avid Republican. I mean, he was a staunch conservative, and now he's joined up with the Democratic Party. You know, it's not often given in South Carolina politics that the Democratic Party gets a shot. And again, I'm not talking whatever's going on national. This is local politics. These are local people, local community that is involved in these decisions. And when I sit here and see the ins and outs, and look, I'm well aware. 4 years ago, I was sitting in that seat right there when I ran for county council for District 3. I'm well aware of the attacks. I'm well aware of everything. Again, this is politics, but you had one shot. You've got one shot to make a difference. And if they're infighting and they're running their mouth about everything and giving preferential treatment, that's going to turn voters off. And I believe, and I'm going to look at the camera when I say this, to two people. The one that made the post on your page, Marianne and Jody, I'm sorry, but I'm going to call you out. You were part of the grand Democratic Party, and you have let all of this happen. You've got one chance to make a difference, and you're blowing it away. Junie?
So what I've seen since I'm newer to the Democratic Party. I came about 2 years ago. And what I have seen is the constant ask for younger candidates, minority candidates. But then when they show up, not like that. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen. And the other thing I see is the Republicans are there waiting to scoop us up.
They are.
They're right there. We're going to catch you. We will fund you, and they will do anything they can to catch, and because they know people are looking for a place to belong. And that's our biggest fail right now is we are letting people feel unwelcome, and to a point where the Republicans are like, got them, and they can just scoop them up and flip sides.
You're 100% correct. You have one chance, and this is the year. If you're going to make any impact, not only statewide but local, this is the year. There should have been a unity message that was preached to begin with, and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Again, I'm not quite sure if you should even have primaries. I think you should have put the best candidate forward, sit around, pulled a straw, and moved you straight to the general election. Because, again, this is just a waste of time. You had one message to get out, and that message should have been, we're unified, here's our message, here's what we're going to do. And at the end of the day, come November in South Carolina, it's a whole different animal. This is not California. This is not Texas. South Carolina is a unique, and we all know that this is a hotbed Republican state.
Well, and if I had known Jasmine was going to run, I wouldn't have put my name in the hat because she's a young Dem. She's considered young. They call me young, but I'm not young. I'm old. So, knowing a younger person wanted to run, I would have.
And then I definitely want to piggyback off that as well. If my party would have came to me, truthfully, because I heard the rumors, but no one truthfully came to me and said, Mr. Sheehan wanted to run, I would have stepped aside and I would have been Team Sheehan. Because for a year, I've been doing James Clyburn's fellowship. For a year, I've been building relationships with elected officials in the State House, in Congress, on both sides of the aisle. I've been forming relationships with the Housing Authority. I am very active in Chamber and many other groups. I volunteered for so many years to build relationships with these people and foster these connections so I can actually not help myself, but help my community. Because I know at the end of the day, there are some rooms that I'm able to get into, and people that look like me, they aren't welcome there. But I came from a very good family, and I was blessed with opportunity from my parents and everything like that. So, you know what? I want to give every single person in District 3, no matter their race, whatever, that same opportunity. But at the end of the day, that conversation was never had. I've been met with backstabbing. I've been met with so many hateful things said about myself, my business, my family. Heck, I'll tell you this, y'all, they even try to say the car I drive, I can't afford it. That is not okay. That's classist. That is so classist, and that is not who I want to see representing. And even though that didn't come from him, that came from a team member of my opponent. I don't want that representation representing District 3. Simple as that. You can call it stirring the pot, but you know what? I call it being transparent. I'm here to tell the truth. I am so tired of being silent. And the same people, not on a national level in the party, we voice to say, okay, we want victims who have been wrongfully treated to stand up. But you're telling me, oh, things have happened to me, things have happened to other candidates, but you guys want us to stay quiet so we uplift our party? No, we uplift our party by being real with people so we can actually fix the issues. I'm tired of the Band-Aid and the little super glue. It's not going to hold. We need to actually fix it, y'all. And this is how we do it right here. Getting down and dirty, being respectful, and talking about the real issues and coming up with a plan. Because I'm going to say it again. If Mr. Sheehan would have just came to me at first and said, he wanted to run, even after my announcement a year ago, I would have backed him, but that is not what has happened. And I still respect Mr. Sheehan. I still respect some people in the Democratic Party. And at the end of the day, I'm not even going to say Jody Gauntlet's not the one to blame for all this. There's other members in the party who are to blame for all this. I mean, at the end of the day, Jody's been the one who's treated me with respect. But we need to have accountability and transparency at our local party, at our city council level, and our county council level. All across the board, y'all, we got to fix it. Simple as that. I'm tired of this mess.
And we should be mentoring, where I might know a life story that I can teach Devin, and I can tell it to him one time and he might get it, and I could tell it to him for 3 years before he gets it. But mentoring is a relationship with somebody, not a one-time conversation. So you have to continue to have conversations with people, to teach them and learn with them and grow with them. And we should be building our next generation of leaders right now. So we should be activating people in schools the same way the Republicans are. We should be encouraging them and mentoring them and setting an example. Like, I don't want to set an example that I wouldn't want my nieces and nephews to look at.
Well, part of the other issue, and this really doesn't necessarily involve you, I have my own issues with our local Democratic Party, and it involved me. I was called a racist because in the news media, it was either I could sit behind and stir the pot, or I could go out and get our local officials to come in and sit down. We have a conversation. Again, we may not agree with everything, but I brought the chairman, Matt Durham, in, and I brought Don Mize, who is the Republican side. And again, we had conversations about what was going on and how things are progressing. And I'm very curious when it comes to the budget stuff that's going on. And everybody in Oconee County right now should be very concerned to know that this current council was given, and again, it's already been told, bad numbers, cooking the books. And the thing that I pointed out is that the date of all of this, when Stuart Jones, our new county administrator, started pointing 2014, that let me know right then, this is not the administrator you fired. This is your previous administrator who just happens to be the administrator of a town in Oconee County, a city in Oconee County. So this all happened, but yet 2 members of the alleged gangster, whatever they're called, got on social media and blasted me as a racist. Devin, you saw the post. Okay? I'm doing my job in this community. You know, it's not often that you get the opportunity to come on a talk show, because years past, you guys would have been shunned. I'm not about that. If there's a wrong or there's an injustice, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, that's my job here, is to call it out. I want to call it out and point and say, hey, look, there's an issue here.
Well, as an adult, you should be able to sit down and have a conversation with anybody.
Well, you can't. You can't with some of these people. You cannot have a conversation, because it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. And just because I bring in the opposition that they say and have conversations, we got to get to the answers. We need the truth. The truth shall set everybody free. And if we don't have the truth when it comes to the local side of what's going on in this county, then we're just sitting here spinning our wheels. Have we gone off the cliff? And I think in certain aspects, I believe people want us to go off the cliff. And we shouldn't be going off the cliff. These are conversations we should be saying. Now, again, they point to me and say, well, that group over there really tried to destroy you. Well, no, they didn't. They were doing what they're supposed to do. It's called politics. You got to have a big skin face when it comes to running because they're going to throw everything in your brother at you. But when it's coming from your own party, that's even what's worse. And a party historically that has struggled since the late 1980s. You know, we really have not had contested primaries in the Democratic Party in Oconee County in 10, 15 years maybe?
2012 for me.
Was it 2012?
Yep, Bill Whitmire's last opponent was John. I can't remember his last name.
Okay, so let's go back to 2012. The rest of it has been a Republican stronghold. I grew up here in 1992 when we had the big red wave that came. And a lot of our folks that grew up here are what I consider called blue dog Democrats. They're the conservative moderates, which you would consider right now what's in the Republican Party. They were blue dog Democrats growing up.
Yep.
But again, when the own party is just sitting here trying to stir the pot, but yet you've got somebody that is assisting the Democratic Party that went to January 6th and made a post that they were staunch conservatives. You got to question, where is the loyalty? Or at least, are you just trying to ride somebody's coattail and thinking it's going to work? It's not. You got to be honest. Got to be transparent.
Yes, and another thing I think we need to focus on in the county, and I feel that Democrats on the state and national level understand this, we have to work together. Simple as that. So at the end of the day, if it's time for new leadership, you vote for new leadership. If it's time to keep the current leadership in there, let's keep it in there. But me, myself, as a candidate, I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's time that we put the power back in the hands of the constituents and you use your voice and do what's best for this county. Because with me, I'm friends with Republicans and Democrats. I mean, I want to give a shout out to, Senator Alexander. I hosted a thing at the Stairwell. It was basically a business networking hour of multiple different businesses in the community. And it was a part for small business to interact with each other. It was a time for the community to come and check out different professionals. And he actually came to that event. And, I really, really respect him for that. That's the type of man that I can respect. Someone, we might not agree politically, but you can still respect me as a man. And that is the type of person that I will continue to be. Because honestly, with all this backlash and everything that's been going on with my local party, you want me to tell you who's been very respectful to me? Some of the conservative elected officials who I had a problem with over a year ago. And I applaud y'all. That's why I say, even this is the primary, but let's take it to the general because I'm going to say this. Mr. Don Mize, that is a husband, that is a parent, that is a grandfather, and that's a God-fearing man. If you feel it's time to keep him in there, listen, keep him in there. If it's time that you want to have new leadership, elect new leadership. But do not let your party sway you anyway. You take back the power. It is people over politics. Simple as that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead as we get towards the end of the show. This has been a very good discussion. And I wanted to create awareness of what is going on in the politics, whether it be Republican or Democrat. I wanted to have this conversation because, Devin, I was the one that first recognized what was going on. And I asked you, I said, Devin, is your own party doing this? And we had this conversation. And then I find out, Junie, that you feel the same identical way. You got one shot in November. Don't mess it up. Because if you mess it up this time, there could be another 10 to 20 years before you ever get another shot. And I don't care I care more about our local people. This is why this show exists. It's local because you're not going to hear this in the newspaper. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. These are just things that are happening that our community, they need to know. Final moments here. I'm going to turn it to Junie. Election time's coming. Again, the message, why should people vote for you?
I think the best message is negative campaigning. It's going to bring you attention. You're going to get your social media likes. You're going to get your follows. But attention and leadership are not the same thing. And when you need a leader, when you need somebody who's going to show up, I'm here.
Very good. Devin, same question.
Well, I'm going to repeat back to what I said earlier. I'm running on safety, affordability, and small businesses. I bring a perspective that is young and old. I'm here to represent every single constituent on both sides of the aisle, and I want transparency and accountability. If there's something going on, you call me. And if there's things you're struggling with, like I understand, domestic violence here is rampant. Homelessness is rampant. Relief support, it is rampant. Do you know why I know this? Because I've worked with nonprofits for most of all my life, so I hear the stories every day. I want to be able to have the relationship as a county councilman to where you can come to me. If I can't fix it, I can point you someone in a direction that can. And I want to say this, there was a question that came in, and yes, I am third vice chair of the Democratic Party, but I do not serve a party. I serve the people of Oconee County. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this again. We sometimes need tough love. You guys might not like me after this, but I cannot sit back and let this happen no longer. That is coming from the original candidate in the Oconee County District 3 race, Devin Clay.
You can tell you're young because you can read that from here.
Yeah, I got a couple of comments that popped up. Rita Moore, 3765. Devin is the leadership of the local Democratic Party. And let me go ahead real quickly is Andrea. I know Andrea well. Junie Lynch puts in work for her city and all over the county. And local elections, local elections are absolutely the most important elections. And they are. They're the stepping stone, the bedrock here of our local community. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the show. I really do appreciate, and I hope that this helps a little bit tonight of getting the message out just a bit for you guys. Of course, you're in contested primaries. But the point tonight that we're trying to make here, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. If you feel that these two are the best, then vote for them by all means. But primaries belong to the voters. A primary is not supposed to be a coordination. It's not supposed to be a handshake deal in the back room. It belongs to the voters. If two Democrats file for the same seat, then both deserve to be heard, both deserve to be questioned, and both deserve a fair shot. Now, neutrality means something. If a local party is going to say it supports all Democrats, then support the needs to look the same visibility, same respect, same invitation, same microphone. Otherwise, don't call it neutral, call it what it actually is. Unity cannot be demanded for unfairness. You cannot treat candidates like outsiders during the primary and then demand unity the next morning after the election. Unity is built before the vote, not after the damage is done. And voters, well, they're smart. They're very smart than you think. Voters can tell when this is fixed. They can tell when one candidate is being lifted up and another one is being lifted to fend for themselves. And when voters feel manipulated, they tune out or they vote against the machine. And again, Oconee Democrats, you have a real opportunity this year, but the opportunity without organization is just noise. If the message is not clear, the candidates are fighting each other, and if the party looks divided, voters will walk right past and they'll go pull that ticket, ladies and gentlemen. And that is going to do it for tonight's show of the Pod Stir. I'm Jazzy Jeff. I want to thank our guests for joining us tonight. Next Tuesday is June the 9th. Not January the 9th, June the 9th. I keep wanting to say January the 9th for some reason because that's actually my birthday, January the 9th. So maybe I'm going to have an early party for some reason. But we will have complete coverage of the race. We will be right here at the Pot Stir Podcast Studios here on air starting at about 7 o'clock coming up Tuesday night. Again, Seneca folks, brace yourself. The big one's coming. It's budget time in Seneca, and things don't look too good, nor does it smell too good in the city of Seneca. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but we're going to start paying out of the pocket. And I mean we're going to have to start paying out of the pocket. Get your checkbooks ready, folks. I know they're broke now, but they're going to be broker after all this is said and done. Budget time in Oconee. Oh, what a tangle web we weave when we practice to deceive. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Pod Stir Podcast, right here at JazzyJeffPodStir.com. And the show will be available right now here in just moments.
From the back roads and courthouse steps of small-town South Carolina to the late-night studio where the mics never sleep, this is where decisions, rumors, and real stories collide. You're tuned in to the Pod Stir Podcast with Jazzy Jeff. Real talk, local issues, no fluff.